Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm the founder of Pai, and we're a certified organic skincare line with a particular specialism in sensitive skin. We are both a brand, but also a formulator and manufacturer. So we still conceive and produce every one of our products in-house. We've been certified organic for quite a while, since 2008. So this is a subject we're very passionate about and have been banging our drum on for a long time. And we started as a Soil Association certified brand, and that morphed into the Cosmos beauty standard that's more pan-European more recently. I do feel that organic food has a real acceptance now, but we're not there yet with beauty. I think organic beauty is still actually very overlooked. I think it's still quite misunderstood as well. So today is about giving you a glimpse behind the curtain into our lab, into our factory, to share what we feel is the benefits and the value and the challenges of working with organic ingredients, but also showing that it doesn't have to mean any compromise in terms of efficacy or innovation. Before I get into the nuts and bolts of organic formulation, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about why I chose to make Pai an organic brand, and to take you a bit on that journey, because I think it's helpful context. I started this business quite a while ago, really off the back of my own skin challenges. So I have a condition called chronic urticaria. I lived with it for a very long time. It's quite a misunderstood condition. There's not much known about it. And I had to really join the dots myself and sort of self-solve, really. What that meant was that I had to understand ingredient lists. They are quite incomprehensible to people who don't work in the industry. But as I kind of got into them and wrapped my head around ingredient lists, I started to become really fascinated in ingredients, particularly the remedial properties of plants. That really opened my eyes up to that. And then from there, I got very drawn into the organic farming piece. And I think there were sort of three things that really led me there. The first was quality. I could see a completely other level quality coming from organic production. I also really was drawn in by the much broader ethical dimension of organic certification. I think that is not often talked about. Again, I just don't think people know about it. But when I was starting to build a brand and a business, those were very important values that I wanted to underpin my business. But finally, I think the big thing for me was about efficacy, and organic ingredients transformed my own skin, saved my skin. So when I was starting out, it just was a no-brainer for me to be an organic brand. And I think you hear often this sort of old adage that if you go natural, you give up on performance and efficacy. I have never felt that. I've never felt that using organic ingredients was in any way a compromise. Quite the opposite. And I think you often also hear that, if you go with natural, you're not really going with science. Again, I can't fathom that really, because I think if you formulate a product, whether you're doing it with synthetic ingredients or natural ingredients, both require a scientific process. We have 3 chemists in our business full time. So, that was another important piece for me about just the efficacy of these ingredients. I think another thing that's important to say is, and this particularly pertains to the certification process, not just the ingredients themselves, is it gives you this total view of your supply chain. And I think for some people that's maybe quite frightening even, but it was so tied up with our vertical integration model. As I said earlier, we make our own products, we have always done that. And actually that means owning the process end to end. So having that due diligence done on where the ingredients are coming from with the help of Cosmos was incredibly helpful to us. So it just completed that end to end view. So that again was really important. So I've touched on why we took the decision to be organic. Why do I think others should bother? Well, we've talked about briefly the ethical dimensions to certification. We've also talked about quality. We really need to focus also on the commercial piece here, the commercial drivers. The world has changed post-COVID. I think we were moving this way anyway, but the report out this year from the Soil Association, their Beauty and Wellness report, published in March, had some really compelling stats. So 1 in 6 UK consumers now buy an organic beauty or well-being product. That's extraordinary. 50% said that they would be more inclined to buy an organic product post-pandemic. And then there was another one, which was, I think, 47% said that they would really consider the ethical commitment of a brand before they took a purchasing decision. So this is a really strong commercial piece. You know, consumers really care about provenance now, and they want to know that brands are thinking about sustainability and thinking about the bigger picture. So we've touched on organic ingredients and why consumers are demanding more use of them. I want to talk about certification and why you should bother with it, because I think it's the crucial ends piece. It is an investment in time, it's an investment in money, but it is really critical. Couple of reasons here. So first up is we've seen a whole seismic shift in the kind of clean movement, driven a lot by the US, but still really prevalent globally. It's been really interesting to watch, and in many ways it's been great because it's completely expanded the natural category, got people interested in ingredients, looking at ingredient lists. Fantastic. I think the one challenge with it is that it's a very ill-defined term. So, you know, what does it mean to the end consumer? You have brands sort of creating almost their self-referring standards. We don't use these ingredients. Well, actually, we don't use these. Who's better, who's right? So I think it does just bring this confusion. Our certifications are our kite marks of authenticity. We are what we say we are. But crucially, somebody is checking. Beyond all that, there is this broader ethical dimension to certification that I have, touched on, but what does that mean? This is not just about how an ingredient is grown. It is how are the farmers treated? How is that cultivation impacting local communities? What happens to that ingredient when it goes down your plug hole, into our waterways, into our oceans? Is it biodegrading? Is it non-GM? Are we using endangered plants inadvertently? All of these areas are addressed. So this broader due diligence almost that I think certification brings that's invaluable. Let's talk about how you actually formulate to an organic standard. And there are 5 key things to consider. The first is all ingredients must adhere to the 12 green chemistry principles. You don't necessarily need to know what those are, you can look them up, but as a general principle, what they look at is trying to minimize impact on human health, but also minimizing contamination to the environment. That's the kind of point to them. Next up on the ingredients point is around the database of ingredients. And Cosmos will provide sort of 2 really. One is around approved ingredients that are non-organic, so non-farmed ingredients. So those are things like your emulsifiers, your preservatives. And then there's the separate database of the certified organic ingredients themselves. What's important, and this has always been a bit of a misnomer again with certification, is that you are blocked from using any interesting ingredient that doesn't happen to appear on that list. It's just not true. And actually what you can do is if you find a new ingredient that has extraordinary properties, great efficacy data behind it, and you really want to use it, you can pitch to Cosmos and ask if it can be reviewed and assessed. And what they'll do is they'll go and look at the supply, they'll make sure that all that due diligence is there and has been done, and then you can then be permitted to use it. So it's a process, but it doesn't need to mean that you're just completely obstructed from using that. Third point is around packaging. So actually at the formulation stage, anyway, you need to think about what is this formula going to go into, particularly from a compatibility point of view. But you also will be interrogated on this point when you come to submit your product for approval. So 2 areas to think about is use of plastic. So could you use a bioplastic instead of a virgin plastic or a recycled plastic? But also a much broader view is, are you using excess packaging? Because you will be tasked on that. You want to just use the packaging that you need. 4th point, which will not be relevant to everybody, particularly if you don't produce your own products, but you are restricted in how you clean your machinery afterwards. Certain products you can't use, cleaning products you can't use. We really came against some challenge here with a new product we launched, the Impossible Glow, which is fine particles of mica, Cosmos approved, of course, but really stick to your machines. And we couldn't use our traditional cleaning materials for that. We had to then go back to Cosmos and say, what else can we use to help us here? And they helped work with us on that. Final pieces around the checking thing. I've talked about the beauty of certification, the importance is that there's somebody checking and verifying that you are following the standards. This happens annually. You have an annual audit. I will say you are scrutinised. It is a really, really robust process. It has to be, and that's really good. And what it will look is that they'll look at key ingredients and check traceability. So have you ordered what you said you've ordered, and how has that been used in the end product, and then when it's gone out the door. So that traceability piece is key to that audit. Moving on to composition, what organic percentages do you need to hit in your formula? So there's a few different classes here to consider. If you want organic in the product title, so organic facial oil, 95% of the entire ingredients list needs to be certified organic. So that's tricky because you cannot count water. So that really lends itself to the kind of type of product like oils, oil blends, balms. If you have a leave-on product that contains water, that percentage drops to 20% of the total, and for rinse-off products, it comes down to 10%. What are the challenges and complexities of formulating to an organic standard? There are many, I'm not going to lie, but I do think they are often quite overstated. So let's start with general aesthetics and textures of organic formulas. I think compared to a synthetic product, it's much easier in the synthetic space to create lightness and a lot of the sensory benefits we and consumers demand. Absolutely, you can achieve it with organic ingredients though. And hopefully we've proved that with our formulas. Is it just harder to get there? Yes, it is, but where there's a will, there's a way, the key point here is that this space is changing all the time. So new ingredients are coming in, huge efficacy data and really high-tech products and ingredients. So this is getting easier all the time. On that point, there are certain ingredients that are still prohibited on that Cosmos ingredients directory and database. Examples and well-known examples are things like retinol, panthenol, even things like niacinamide. It's a shame we can't use them, but they're just 3 examples. And I think that, again, this space is changing all the time. You compared to when I started over a decade ago, it's unrecognizable. The sheer number of incredible natural actives that we get to play with now is second to none. So masses of research in this area. It's a fun category and space to be formulating in right now. Final piece, and it is probably the one that is the sticking point for many brands at the beginning of their journey and often puts them off just making that leap into organic, is the cost. It is much more expensive to work with organic ingredients, and really it is the cost of the ingredients that we're talking about here. So to put into context, I'm going to give one example. If you use a mineral oil in your formula, that might cost as little as £1 a kilo. A typical organic vegetable oil that we might use might be as much as 30. That's one example, and often the increases are not as extreme as that. What I will say though is that this is definitely an investment. Organic products, certified organic products, isn't this sort of airy-fairy outlier that it used to be. It absolutely has its place now in our industry and is a really fast-growing category in itself. So I think If the ethical piece and the quality piece doesn't persuade you, I think, really think about this is where the consumer is leading us.